Chapter 113, Royally Arrogant, Huangpu Qingyun. Chapter 113, Royally Arrogant, Huangpu Qingyun. The night passed and Zhuo Fan walked out of his room. He was welcomed by the warm sun, yet his eyes were cold as ever. After a thorough analysis, he came to the decision to strike. Tonight was his best chance to steal her Bodhi jade sap, when Chu Qingcheng was alone. The best case was if it all went smoothly. If not, it couldn't be helped. He wouldn't shirk from killing if it'd get him the medicine. He was the demonic emperor and not even a woman could stand in his way. Zhuo Fan took steps towards Chu Qingcheng's room. From his gait, one could even see a certain growing resolve. But the closer he got, the stranger he felt. Why were there so few people in Drifting Flowers edifice? Not even the guests were around. Make way, make way. A rash and urgent yell came from a figure in red moving with great haste. It was none other than Xiao Dandan. Thinking for a moment, he flashed before her. Thump. Xiao Dandan seemed to have smacked into an iron wall and fell to the ground, bringing sharp pain to her butt and head. Who is so blind that dares block me? Xiao Dandan cursed, but she choked on her words when she saw Zhuo Fan. Eyeing her coldly, Zhuo Fan snorted, "Did you say something about a blind man?" Lowering her head and blushing a bit, Xiao Dandan went by him. Zhuo Fan was even more perplexed. She used to be so feisty. So, why did she suddenly change? He grabbed her arm. Xiao Dandan shuddered and her cheeks reddened even more. Zhuo Fan ignored her state and said, "Where are you going? Why is Drifting Flowers edifice so quiet? Where is everyone?" That's because they went to see young Master Huangpu." Zhuo Fan frowned then cried, "Huangpu, a man from the Regent Estate. Why is he here so soon?" "The one who came is Regent Estate's second young master, Huangpu Qingyun. I heard he and Edifice Lord were childhood sweethearts. With him here, Vicious Pill King will not dare to cause trouble." Zhuo Fan's heart shook. Son of a bitch. I just decided to attack and here comes an expert. And did he have to be Chu Qingcheng's childhood sweetheart too? How the hell am I supposed to do anything with those two sticking like glue? Zhuo Fan gnashed his teeth and looked on murderously. "Let's go. I want to see the so great young Master Huangpu." "Great? How can you be so rude to Regent Estate's young master?" Xiao Dandan was going to advise him to be restrained, but Zhuo Fan pulled her along before she could say anything. Xiao Dandan looked at their hands but did not say a word. Though, it could be because her heart was skipping like a deer. Zhuo Fan's unbridled and rash attitude made her heart jump for the first time for a man. She was wishing for time to stop right now. However, with the two's cultivation, they soon arrived at the entrance of Drifting Flowers edifice. They looked on towards the crowd. Zhuo Fan let go of his hand, which made the young miss feel a sense of loss. Blast it. This damn Regent Estate is too impressive. They are like emperors. To have the other houses welcome them like this. The scene shocked him. From first to third-rate clans, all kneeled at the side of the main avenue. And those of powerful clans stood around the Drifting Flowers edifice's entrance in welcome. This was Drifting Flowers edifice's headquarters, yet the procession was even grander than the edifice lords. Was Regent Estate so strong that it could intimidate the other six? It had to. With how arrogant and belittling the seven houses were, they would never accept such a loss of face. His face turned grave. Zhuo Fan's eyes were like a hawk, watching further ahead. In the middle of the street, a yellow sedan chair appeared before his eyes. This sedan chair was plain, with but 4 people lifting it. They were all profound heaven experts. The moment Huangpu Qingyun's hand touched Xie Tianyang's shoulder, he felt an overwhelming pain spread through his body. He could not move. Only managing to gnash his teeth from pain and stand straight as an arrow. Pleased with the lesson, Huangpu Qingyun let go and laughed as he left with a group of fawners behind him. Jian Suifeng sighed, "Tianyang, why do you act like this? I told you that Regent Estate's men are proficient in grasping the hearts of the people. Anyone who disobeys them suffers in the end. 8th Elder, I now understand Ning'er's feelings at that time. I never knew the Sword Marquis's abode would see this day. Sweat was dripping down Xie Tianyang's face. I will remember this Huangpu Qingyun. The day will come when I will pay in kind. Jian Suifeng shook his head. For thousands of years, Regent Estate stood atop the 7 houses. Even if you are unwilling, all you can do is bear it. While this scene played out, none of them noticed Zhuo Fan standing in a corner, watching closely. His eyes were cold and his fists were clenched. Song Yu, what's wrong? Your face is scary. Xiao Dandan asked. Zhuo Fan shook his head, nothing. What will you do if your sisters are picked on? She watched him, amazed. Hearing a mild tone from him for the first time, depends on who it is. I will take some of my sisters to deal with normal people, or tell my master if it involves the 7 houses. Humph, what will be the point of that? Zhuo Fan squinted as he showed naked killing intent. I, on the other hand, will crush anyone to dust for picking on my brother. His icy tone left Xiao Dandan shivering. She looked as if she didn't recognize him. Chapter 114, Hints of Ambition. Chapter 114, Hints of Ambition. Drifting Flowers Edifice's guest hall was packed with delicacies and food for a feast. Huangpu Qingyun arrived with a crowd of retainers and sat in the seat of honor. It was the seat reserved for the leader. His action implied crass and open disrespect for Drifting Flowers Edifice. It could be even deemed as provocation. However, people found Huangpu Qingyun's act normal, treating him like an emperor. Chu Qingcheng didn't mind at all. Now that he sat there, it wouldn't be long before he would help them. Elders, please take a seat. Don't be shy. Huangpu Qingyun acted as the host and gestured to the 4 profound heaven experts carrying his sedan. As they sat along with the guests, there seemed to be one table empty. Huangpu Qingyun asked the obvious, why is there an empty table? Was the table count wrong and the servers left it as so? Clear of his intention, Vicious Pill King snickered evilly, second young master, it belongs to Sword Marquis's abode. He must be running late with important matters. If it is irksome, second young master, we might as well remove it. Everyone watched him coldly. Vicious Pill King was simply adding insult to injury. Everyone in the hall saw Huangpu Qingyun attack Xie Tianyang from getting on his bad side. It was obvious that Xie Tianyang was now taking care of his wound and did not come. They all guessed that this second young master was still irritated and brought up this topic. It is fine if you don't want to irk the second young master, but as a man from the 7 houses, must you go so far to pour oil over the fire and present the chance to shame Sword Marquis's abode? And Huangpu Qingyun wasn't one to miss it. Elder Yen is right. The empty table is bothersome. Remove it from sight. Second young master, Sword Marquis's abode is one of the 7 houses. Even absent, their table should remain. Sir's conduct of disgracing them might earn Sword Marquis's abode's displeasure. Long Zhuo stood up, no longer having the patience to sit by and watch. Vicious Pill King squinted, and? You think the Sword Marquis's abode would start a war over a table? This is not a matter of boldness, but the 7 houses' sanctity. The 7 noble houses shouldn't hold each other in such contempt. Humph, nice speech. Then let me ask you, Elder Zhuo, in whose domain again did my elders get killed? This time, it was Hell Valley's 5th elder who laughed coldly. He, I have no problems with anyone if no one gives me problems. Hell Valley dug its own grave. You got yourself to blame for that. What did you say, you blind old dog? 5th elder snapped and slapped the table. Long Zhuo squinted, staring back without fear. The feast had become a ticking time bomb ready to explode. They would have long had trade blows if not for this place being Drifting Flowers Edifice. People, please calm down. This is neither Veiled Dragon Pavilion nor Hell Valley. It is not a stage for you to settle your grudges. Lin Zitian wiped his sweat, as he urged, if not for Drifting Flower's edifice, then for the second younger master. Restrain yourselves. The two turned their attention to Huangpu Qingyun. He was smiling slightly, but his eyes were anything but pleased. As if to remind them this was his welcoming feast. You dare cause trouble at my feast? The two muttered and cupped their hands towards him before sitting back down. Huangpu Qingyun laughed, that's better. The 7 houses are one big happy family. There's no need to argue over a table. Moreover, this is Drifting Flower's edifice, and it is their decision if the table stays or not. Huangpu Qingyun turned his stare to Chu Qingcheng, who nodded. Sword Marquis's abode is Drifting Flower's edifice's guest and should have a table. Frowning slightly, Huangpu Qingyun's eyes flashed with disappointment, but laughed nonetheless. All will be done as Qingcheng said. This is your domain after all. Thank you, Qingyun. Chu Qingcheng nodded curtly, not detecting Huangpu Qingyun's change in expression. Meanwhile, the vicious Pill King had an evil smile at her expense. Humph, dumb broad. You have no clue of the second young master's intention. Drifting Flower's edifice deserves what's coming to it. Then the table will stay. He declared. But when Huangpu Qingyun saw 2 figures passing by, he smirked. However, it's only an empty table. The two outside, how about you come join me for a drink? Zhuo Fan and Xiao Dandan were about to go to their rooms when they heard his shout. Xiao Dandan was distraught over what to do and looked at Zhuo Fan since the guest hall was filled with elders. This was something the cherished disciple of Peony Overseer had never participated in. Then, she secretly laughed at her as she took a look at Zhuo Fan. If she, a Drifting Flower's edifice disciple, panicked, what about him? Who was a third-rate clan's young master? Meanwhile, Zhuo Fan was completely opposite. He was cool as a cucumber, taking her hand as he walked with a steady gait. Does this man fear no one? Not her master, not her senior aunt, not even Regent Estate's second young master, Huangpu Qingyun. In a blink, Xiao Dandan was charmed as she looked at Zhuo Fan. She didn't seem to wake up from her charmed state even when they were standing in the middle of the guest hall. Her love-struck gaze was there, open for all to see. 2 sudden killing glares landed on the two. Xiao Dandan shuddered and found one to be from Mary Woods' Lin Tianyu seated next to Lin Zitian. The other from Yan Fu sitting next to Vicious Pill King. Their lips moved yet, no words came out. But the word they mimicked was the same, slut. They would have long shouted curses if it were not for Huangpu Qingyun's presence. Sizing the couple up, Huangpu Qingyun laughed, what a perfect match. Could you introduce yourselves? I am Xiao Dandan from Peony Edifice. Greetings, second young master. Xiao Dandan was tense in her greeting. Zhuo Fan raised an eyelid and stated, Sun Yu from the Song clan, a third-rate clan of Nitrain City. Third-rate? Huangpu Qingyun raised an eyebrow, such a rare occurrence for a third-rate clan young master to become Drifting Flower's edifice's son-in-law. People, please sit there. The hell, son-in-law? When have I become Drifting Flower's edifice's son-in-law? Zhuo Fan was in deep thought to only be jerked awake by Xiao Dandan, who had reddened cheeks. Chu Qingcheng stood at once. Qingyun, you can't. That is Sword Marquis's abode's table. It is not for juniors. Yes, second young master, they do not qualify to sit there. Peony Overseer stood as well, paid her respect to Huangpu Qingyun, then berated the two. What are you two standing around for? Leave. Huangpu Qingyun waved his hand, his face became gloomy. Qingcheng, I agreed to not take Sword Marquis's abode's table, but now, I can't even have 2 guests. You are slighting me. Chu Qingcheng stammered. She watched Huangpu Qingyun's cold face and realized she no longer knew him. Zhuo Fan understood at once. If a third-rate clan young master and Drifting Flower's edifice's disciple took that table, it would bring utter humiliation to Sword Marquis's abode. Huangpu Qingyun was doing it on purpose, differentiating between those who fawned over him and those who disregarded him. The problem revolved around a mere table, but it was an allusion to a question of obedience. Looks like Regent Estate's people are a cut above the 6 houses, and so is their appetite. They want to unify the 7 houses. I need to move fast and secure some elders for the Luo clan. When the 7 houses unite, the Tianyu Empire will be plunged into chaos. Zhuo Fan didn't wait for their argument to finish as he already sat at the table. The people were stunned. What gall the brat has! This will be a shame for Sword Marquis's abode. Kid, you better be careful where you sit, lest you invite death. Long Zhuo warned him with a cold eye. Zhuo Fan watched him calmly. Grandpa Zhuo, be careful to not have your clan ruined with what you say. The people were twitching. He doesn't have just gall, he's mad. He even threatened Veiled Dragon Pavilion's Long Zhuo. Only Huangpu Qingyun watched Zhuo Fan with admiration besides shock. Chapter 115, Isolated. Chapter 115, Isolated. Watching the soul-devouring crow's jubilation, Zhuo Fan perked the corner of his mouth, knowing that Long Zhuo recognized him. After all, he used to address Long Zhuo with Grandpa Zhuo the first time they met. Furthermore, unlike those that addressed him as Grandpa Zhuo, Zhuo Fan's haughty tone made it undoubtedly clear to Long Zhuo as to who he was. None of the people there understood what happened. Their eyes darting from one to another in hesitation. A third-rate clan kid dared speak nonsense to a Veiled Dragon Pavilion's elder, odd. The elder in question not only did not rebuke but looked relaxed, odder. On top of that, there seemed to be some underlying meaning in it, which was baffling to them. This cast many doubts upon the guests. But before they could pry, a sneer resounded, "Humph, Drifting Flowers' edifice is so thoughtful to let some pipsqueak have a table." To everyone's shock, Xia Tianyang had been standing at the entrance, unbeknown to them. Meanwhile, Jian Suifeng's face had turned ashen. The exclusion of Sword Marquis's abode from the 7 houses feast was utter humiliation. Chu Qingchen cried, urging Zhuo Fan, "Who told you to sit? Leave at once." "Qingchen, did you forget? It was I who invited them." Huangpu Qingyun smiled at her, but his deeper meaning pricked at Sword Marquis's abode. "Isn't it a waste to have an empty table? I have welcomed the 2 disciples to make better use of it. It is not a place for a dog to sit in after all." "Humph, since the second young master does not put Sword Marquis's abode in his eyes, we shall be taking our leave then. Farewell." Xia Tianyang waved his sleeve and left. This time, Jian Suifeng didn't stop him, going after him with a stern face. There was no compromise when it came to the matter of Sword Marquis's abode's dignity, even if it meant offending the other 6 houses. Chu Qingchen became anxious. It was Huangpu Qingyun who did this, but Drifting Flowers' edifice was the host. With Xia Tianyang returning humiliated, wouldn't Sword Marquis's abode put all the blame on Drifting Flowers' edifice? In this moment of crisis, Drifting Flowers' edifice should be making friends, not offending others left and right. "Young Master Xia, please wait. This is the fault of our Drifting Flowers' edifice, please forgive me. I will be arranging a table shortly to apologize." Chu Qingchen cried in panic. Xia Tianyang paused and turned. Chu Qingchen was willing to lower herself and apologize. This was enough for Sword Marquis's abode to keep their dignity. It wouldn't be proper to be obstinate. However, noticing Huangpu Qingyun's mocking grin, Xia Tianyang's anger flared and spoke coldly, "Edifice Lord Chu, since you have the powerful regent estate to lean on, you needn't degrade yourself. I am unfortunate to say that the small and meager Sword Marquis's abode cannot accept your apology." Xia Tianyang left this time for good. Chu Qingchen sighed. How could she not get his meaning? Drifting Flowers' edifice chose to rely on Regent Estate in their hour of most desperate need, this in turn alienated the other houses. She didn't know if this was the right path, but she began to feel that Drifting Flowers' edifice was becoming more and more isolated. Even their longtime friend, Long Zhuo, could only sigh at this. If she couldn't even preserve the dignity of her guests, what's to have them return a second time? Huangpu Qingyun was immensely pleased and showed it in his smile. His eyes drifted to Vicious Pill King, who nodded and showed a crafty glint. Zhuo Fan took it all in and cried inside, damn it. This is Huangpu Qingyun's plan. To isolate Drifting Flowers Edifice. When Drifting Flowers Edifice was gone, the next to follow would be Sword Marquis's Abode and Veiled Dragon Pavilion, who refused to acknowledge their might. Jian Suifeng watched Zhuo Fan, befuddled. Seeing peace restored, Chu Qingcheng relaxed also. Her pretty eyes landed on Zhuo Fan with gratitude. Zhuo Fan raised a glass in her honor and lifted an eyebrow. Chu Qingcheng glared at him, but they held no anger. It was the same as when a big sis smacked her little brother over the head, a love tap. Qingcheng. Huangpu Qingyun's eye grew cold, severely irked by Zhuo Fan's action of diffusing the conflict between Drifting Flowers Edifice and Sword Marquis's Abode. However, Chu Qingcheng did not notice. So, she urged, Qingyun, it was hard to gather all the 7 houses before the 100-pill meeting, as you can see. So, don't be so hard on young Master Xie. Ha ha ha, how could I? I came because of you after all. His eyes flashing, Huangpu Qingyun spoke, let's begin. Now that all houses are here, let us settle the matter between Drifting Flowers Edifice and Pill King Hall. Chu Qingcheng was happy. With Regent Estate standing here, that old dog will have to give up the antidote. What she didn't know, however, was that Vicious Pill King was also anticipating this. Chapter 116, Ruthless Betrayal. Chapter 116, Ruthless Betrayal. P 4553R. Clap. At the sharp clap, everyone turned to Chu Qingcheng. She smiled and eyed the Vicious Pill King. On this occasion, with all 7 houses gathered here, I would like everyone to bear witness to one matter of mine. She stared Vicious Pill King down with a cold gaze. Yen Song, it is time to end our grudges, today. Ha ha ha. What grudges do you speak of? I do not understand. Have I perhaps turned up uninvited? Vicious Pill King stroked his beard. Squinting, Chu Qingcheng continued, Yen Song, stop faking it. The elders of the 7 houses are here, and so is Regent Estate's second young master. You won't leave this place until you give up the Rainbow Cloud Palm's antidote. Iris Overseer and Peony Overseer stood up also, ready to strike at a moment's notice. The others kept silent, watching the events unfold. They knew of this grudge between them for a long time. This time, however, Drifting Flowers Edifice invited Regent Estate to mediate and press down on Pill King Hall. Vicious Pill King would have no choice but to comply in his presence. Yet, just when the second young master ought to speak, he remained unusually quiet. The people ignored Chu Qingcheng and Vicious Pill King, turning their gazes to Qingcheng. Because they all knew, he was the one who had the final say. Who was right and who was wrong, who failed and who won, all rested on this man's shoulders. Huangpu Qingyun smiled towards Vicious Pill King, ha ha ha, Elder Yen, if you truly poison Drifting Flowers Edifice's disciples, there is no harm in providing the antidote and keep it cordial. He, second young master is right. Snickering, Vicious Pill King cupped his hands at Huangpu Qingyun, but his sinister eyes stared right at Chu Qingcheng. I have indeed hurt your overseers, but I am unable to provide the antidote. Yen Song, the nerve of you. You won't even listen to the Regent Estate. Do I have to bother His Majesty for you to drop this matter? Chu Qingcheng shouted. But Huangpu Qingyun lightly waved it off. His Highness is terribly occupied and has no time to mind us, 7 houses. Even after what happened in Windgaze City between Veiled Dragon Pavilion and Hell Valley, His Highness rebuked them both. Not only they, but even the other houses were given a warning. Windgaze City has now become a restricted area for us. When Huangpu Qingyun pointed this out, Long Zhuo and Hell Valley's 5th elders started glaring at each other. Zhuo Fan sneered inside, knowing where this was going. For the regent estate to unify the 7 houses, they must have all of the houses' affairs under their control. Wouldn't it become a mere figurehead as the leader of the 7 houses if the other houses turned to the emperor for mediation? Humph, they move quite quickly when it comes to grabbing power. So this is the true ambition of regent estate. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed coldly. Chu Qingcheng took a deep breath to calm her anger. Qingyun, you are right, but this old dog. Leave it to me. Huangpu Qingyun held his hand in interruption and spoke to Vicious Pill King, Elder Yan, taking your current stance is tantamount to slighting regent estate. Don't you see me sitting here? Ha ha ha, the second young master misunderstands. The truth is, I cannot provide the antidote. Vicious Pill King cupped his hands and smiled, but, shouldn't what a certain thief stole be returned first? What do you mean? Huangpu Qingyun raised an eyebrow, his voice awed. Grinning, Vicious Pill King looked at Chu Qingcheng in askance, speaking with a sly smile, Edifice Lord Chu, I'm sure you haven't forgotten of that devil Chu Qingtian. Shivering, tears welled in Chu Qingcheng as she clenched her fists. Bottomless rage and overflowing killing intent surged. The people were shocked having witnessed Chu Qingcheng so out of control for the first time. Sneering, Vicious Pill King added, Drifting Flowers Edifice had once sent that devil, Chu Qingtian, to become my disciple. I found him smart and imparted some of my teachings. In the end, he stole Rainbow Cloud Palm's antidote formula. His strength was lacking when refining it and died, while also poisoning many overseers in the process. How can this be my fault? Yeah, he was my senior brother meant to inherit the master's legacy. She never thought possible the one she rested her last hope on, her childhood sweetheart, would ruthlessly betray her. Iris Overseer and Peony Overseer were enraged, glaring at him with bitter hatred. The one they hated the most was now Huangpu Qingyun, the betrayer. As if unable to look his former sweetheart in the eyes, Huangpu Qingyun turned his head and sighed, Qingcheng, don't be so obstinate. This is all for Drifting Flowers Edifice's sake. Bullshit. What would be left of Drifting Flowers Edifice if the Bodhi root is gone? Peony Overseer's temper flared and cursed him. How will you call yourself Drifting Flowers Edifice if everyone is dead? Huangpu Qingyun snorted, we agreed before, to not contest my verdict. Accept it or suffer the wrath of Regent Estate. Peony Overseer turned mute, Chu Qingcheng and Iris Overseer were falling in despair. However, a sneer echoed around, young Master Huangpu, if my ears didn't fail me, you said you came to mediate and let the elders bear witness. Now that you have given your verdict, isn't it the elders' turn to judge its fairness? This shocked everyone, turning to find the brazen man who dared contest Regent Estate. You have quite the mild temper, it seems. Hell Valley's 5th elder seized the chance to mock him. Long Kuei and Long Jia glared at Zhuo Fan. Though Long Jiu didn't care, all his focus was on what to say next. Looking at Zhuo Fan again, he noticed the deep determination his eyes hid. Long Jiu then gnashed his teeth. Fine then, I'll gamble. Second young master, I believe you are partial. Drifting Flowers Edifice may have been the first to be in the wrong. Chapter 118, Joint Plan. Chapter 118, Joint Plan. With both sides coming to an accord, the intricate feast had reached its end. What people found strange, was Pill King Hall and Regent Estate converting about conditions not with Drifting Flowers Edifice's lord, but Zhuo Fan, the Drifting Flowers Edifice's son-in-law. In a land where women ruled, their fate was ultimately in the hands of a man. This was one irony some people couldn't get enough of. But the real irony was that Zhuo Fan was a fake son-in-law, only known by the overseers. And this man was the one who spoke for the Drifting Flowers Edifice. Peony Overseer and Iris Overseer exchanged a glance, their hearts bitter. As this was all said and done, any regret now would be wasted breath. Besides the fact the elders of the 7 houses were witnessing this, who'd be able to change it now that Pil King Hall and Regent Estate grasped such a huge advantage? They could only blame themselves for trusting Regent Estate. They gave Huangpu Qingyun so many of their treasures to bring him here, only to be closer to losing their very last and most important one. When the elders left, taking care of their affairs, Chu Qingqing called for Huangpu Qingyun, the last man, to leave. Wait. Chu Qingqing's face was frosty, her eyes cold. Huangpu Qingyun paused but didn't turn around. Not far away, Vicious Pil King also paused and looked at the two. Why? Chu Qingqing said. Huangpu Qingyun's lip moved but started with a sigh. Qingqing, I have given you a chance, but you didn't take it. Chu Qingqing frowned. In any case, this is all in your house's interest. And neither of us can change it. If only Drifting Flower's edifice would have been more behaved, you'd have never come to witness today. Huangpu Qingyun's eyes flashed with regret and strode away with his 4 profound heaven experts. In Chu Qingqing's moment of loss, Vicious Pil King crept over with a vicious smile. Edifice Lord, you've been wrong in your assumptions this time. The ones who want the Bodhi root isn't Pil King Hall, but Regent Estate. What? Chu Qingqing was startled. He, that old bat didn't tell you? Regent Estate had long demanded the Bodhi root from her. Too bad she was so stubborn, not willing to budge an inch, so. Vicious Pil King squinted. Guess it's no harm in telling you this secret at this point. You think I alone am enough to harm that old bat? She had advised 3 generations of your edifice lords, after all, a truly awe-inspiring peak profound heaven expert. A bad feeling began to seize Chu Qingqing's heart. Ha, you should have already guessed it. The one to have wounded her to such a state was an expert from Regent Estate. Foolish girl, you think your weak link with the 2nd young master is enough to make Regent Estate help you? You brought the wolf in with open hands. Vicious Pil King's unrestrained laughter was filled with disdain as he took his leave. Chu Qingqing shivered and collapsed. Her eyes empty and tears streamed down her cheeks. What have I done? Her empty eyes now held despair. Her lone figure in the grand guest hall struck a pitiful image. Meanwhile, Zhuo Fan and Xiao Dandan left the hall and saw the veiled dragon pavilion with Sword Marquis's abode waiting for them in a remote corner. With a grin, Zhuo Fan walked straight to them, with Xiao Dandan next to him, of course, eliciting a surprise from him. What are you coming with me for? Go play by yourself. Xiao Dandan pouted. You've done that in front of everyone and now you're so mean. What did I do? Wasn't it just a kiss? It's nothing great, I did it to get Sword Marquis's abode's vote and save your Drifting Flower's edifice. Zhuo Fan rolled his eyes and warned, don't ever mention this again. There is nothing going on between us. Xiao Dandan was like an obedient child, though in her heart, she felt miserable. Yet noticing the 2 houses watching them closely, she couldn't help but grab Zhuo Fan's hand in worry. Songyu, are they looking for trouble since you insulted them at the feast? It'd be best to leave as soon as possible. Zhuo Fan didn't explain and nod. Correct, but this is a man's job, not for women. Also, the further you are from me, the better. Zhuo Fan wrested his hand from her grip without hesitation and walked forward. Xiao Dandan was sad but worried for his sake. She thought of something and quickly rushed off. Greetings, it's been a long time. Zhuo Fan sported a faint smile, putting on the thunder ring from his storage ring. Sparks traveled across it and Xie Tianyang's reacted in kind. He laughed, I knew it was you. You looked so different that I almost didn't recognize you. But calling me a coward made me realize the truth. Xie Tianyang was the first to call Zhuo Fan a coward and now the roles were reversed. By the way, where's sister-in-law? Xie Tianyang's eyebrows danced on purpose. Zhuo Fan's mood turned sour as he waved a fist. Why did you do that anyway? Are you itching for a smackdown? Ha, it's a joke, a joke. You didn't lose out anyway. Xie Tianyang laughed as he withdrew, still somewhat afraid of Zhuo Fan. By the way, little brother, I wanted to ask. What was this all about? Long Zhuo asked sternly, don't you realize we all offended the regent estate? Little brother. Wait, you're Zhuo Fan. Long Kuei cried out. Since Long Zhuo only had one little brother, Zhuo Fan, it was easy to figure it out. Jian Suifeng and Long Jia were also in shock. Now they knew why Long Zhuo and Xia Tianyang sold their face to a kid, to the point they openly defied regent estate. Both were brothers to Zhuo Fan, holding undying gratitude towards each other. Yeah, brother, what was that all about? Xia Tianyang was also serious. I trust you since you have a good reason, but don't go ahead and sell me out again. We've been through life and death together. Zhuo Fan scratched his nose, you two are the ones I trust the most. I wouldn't have dragged you into this if I had no other choice. Just that you've already been pushed into harm's way and it's best to plan ahead. The two asked at the same time, what do you mean? Can't you see it? Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed, regent estate intends to unify all 7 houses, and you two are on their kill list. Rather than wait to be killed, it's best to set a boundary and retaliate. What, unify the 7 houses? How do you know that? They all cried. Zhuo Fan slowly shook his head, it's just a guess for now. Huangpu Qingyun displayed his power the instant he saw Xia Tianyang refuse to comply. If we take this arrogant behavior of a disciple into account, then we can draw conclusions at the true schemes cooking in the heads of the regent estate's minds. On the surface, it looks nothing more than looking to make trouble for Sword Marquis's abode and humiliating it through you. When in fact, he managed to achieve 2 things. Weakening Edifice Lord's position, instigating Drifting Flowers Edifice and Sword Marquis's abode against each other, and splitting the people into 3 camps. Those that obey, those that defy, and the opportunists. From how everyone reacted just now, it is safe to assume Hell Valley and Pill King Hall are in support of them. Meanwhile, Drifting Flowers Edifice, Sword Marquis's abode, and Veiled Dragon Pavilion, having reproached him many times, are obviously against them. As for Merry Woods, they are in the opportunist camp. They began to recount the feast in its entirety and came to the same conclusion. Now, they began to see why Huangpu Qingyun was so disgusted and rude over this trivial matter, even towards a house's young master. He wasn't just arrogant, but was devising a way to deal with the houses. They all broke out in cold sweat. If Zhuo Fan was right, the strongest of the 7 houses was going to declare war on them. To root them out and unite the 7 houses under one banner. This is all just a guess of yours. If it isn't true, then we became hostiles with regent estate for nothing. Long Kuei said sternly after a moment. Nodding, Zhuo Fan's eyes turned cold, indeed. But don't you all agree it is better to become enemies than to wait for the moment when they come at you and catch you unprepared? It's easy to see the difference in danger. If it was me, I would destroy them all at the slightest sign of disobedience. Shivering, Long Zhuo and Jian Suifeng exchanged a glance and admired him inside. So vicious and decisive, just like a true ruler. Fine, I know of that saying about, guard against those that want to hurt you or whatever. I get the regent estate is coveting us, but Drifting Flowers Edifice's sorry state is a different matter. Brother, you made us favor Drifting Flowers Edifice and thus pushed forward regent estate's war to us. Xia Tianyang suddenly said. Jian Suifeng gave him a praising glance, this kid is finally thinking for his house. Zhuo Fan disapproved with a sneer, Drifting Flowers Edifice is indeed the weakest of the 7, on the verge of collapse. This is why regent estate wants to start with them. Think about it. If they fall, who will regent estate turn to next? They all then realized, shock. Though the Drifting Flowers Edifice was the weakest amongst the 7 houses, they were still part of the 7 houses. If Drifting Flowers Edifice was out of the picture, the next would be them, Sword Marquis's abode and Veiled Dragon Pavilion. Drifting Flowers Edifice is your gate. Once this gate splits open, Regent Estate will be unstoppable in its march to swallow you all. In addition, Drifting Flowers Edifice's existence presents us with Regent Estate's attack target. Take Drifting Flowers Edifice out of the picture, and it will be anyone's guess who the next mark is. They all nodded, with some people's eyes flashing with resolve. Even Long Kuei, who always looked for chances to nitpick with him, had to agree. Long Kuei now understood how serious this matter was, which involved her house. Then what do you get out of this? Xia Tianyang said, I know you well enough and there's no way you'd get involved without getting something. Least of all, volunteering to help Drifting Flowers Edifice get over this predicament. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed with confidence and said, Miss Long Kuei, do you remember our 10 years agreement? Rising Luo clan above the 7 houses in 10 years? Long Kuei muttered. Correct. Zhuo Fan continued with a smile, what I get from all of this, is to slow down the Regent Estate's campaign and allow the Luo clan rise in 10 years. When I am done, we will see who will be the true #1 house in the empire. Chapter 119, Zhuo Fan's Determination. Chapter 119, Zhuo Fan's Determination. What boasting! Jian Suifeng was the first to open his mouth in shock. 10 years to go beyond the 7 houses. There never was such a precedent in the entire Tianyu Empire, let alone rising enough to fight the strongest of the 7 houses, Regent Estate. Zhuo Fan's words were borderline fantasy. But from the looks of the rest, this arrogance was something they were used to. Given enough time, they got used to Zhuo Fan's egomaniac nature. So much so, they became numb to how many surprised he gave them, to some extent. Besides, compared to those shocking and incredible things he did, boasting would hardly mean anything. In fact, he might actually pull it off. They were skeptical, but also expectant. Looking forward to seeing how far this little freak could go. Furthermore, their interests aligned, for now. AI, to safeguard both of our houses, we have no choice but to work together and protect Drifting Flowers Edifice. It would have been best if we talked about this yesterday. Now that the 2 houses are in agreement, with none of us having any legitimate reason to intervene in that contest anymore, Long Jiu shook his head. Xia Tianyang did the same, complaining, punk, making that proposition was a bad move. Whining with alchemy is the same as just giving it to Vicious Pill King. You think I wanted to? How else could I have made them take a step back and give Drifting Flowers Edifice a lifeline? Rolling his eyes, Zhuo Fan sneered, moreover, you don't need to worry about this. All you have to do is to support Drifting Flowers Edifice from time to time and prevent it from being swallowed. Does that mean you have a contingency in place? They all asked. Perking the corner of his mouth, Zhuo Fan spoke with confidence, it's just alchemy. I will face the Vicious Pill King myself. What? He is a 7th grade alchemist, how? This time they were panicking. A 7th grade alchemist was considered a peak in Tianyu Empire. Very few people had reached such a level. And Vicious Pill King was the #1 alchemist in Pill King Hall. He was better than even an average 7th grade alchemist, possibly the best in the empire. Was Zhuo Fan, with his cultivation, at his age, capable of such a feat? Damn it all to hell. What is up with this freak? Alchemy, arrays, he is a master of all. There's hardly anyone in his generation who is his match. How did all of heaven's favor get dumped on him? Xia Tianyang was close to raining curses. He knew Zhuo Fan's skill in alchemy was abnormal, but not to the extent he reached a 7th grade alchemist's level. Zhuo Fan sighed, don't look at me like that. I am going to face him, but I too am not certain of success. Zhuo Fan knew alchemy needed 3 things, cultivation, skill, and flame. Cultivation allowed prolonged control over the flame. Skill referred to the secret refining skills of some clans. Without a good one, no amount of cultivation would help refine a good pill. And flame determined the degree of ingredient refinement. For high-grade ingredients, a common flame was unable to refine it. An alchemist had to look for a beast flame or a natural-born fire. The stronger the flame, the better the refinement. His cultivation left room to refine a fourth-grade pill at best. But with the secret and ancient refining skill from 9 Serenity's secret records, he could go a grade higher. Regarding flame, he had no clue how strong the azure flame was, but it was strong, no doubt about it. He was confident he should be able to refine a 7th-grade pill. And if you fail? Long Zhuo saw Zhuo Fan silent and was beginning to worry. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed with naked killing intent, then it will come down to a fight. This is actually for the best. Taking the Bodhi route, the Regent Estate will change their targets to me and Drifting Flowers Edifice will gain some breathing room. Who would dare brave such dangers when a single mistake would be paid for with his life? Damn, kid, you're truly bold. Even Jian Suifeng had to admire him. Xia Tianyang slapped his shoulder. He was silent, but his eyes spoke volumes. A burning gaze that seemed to want to melt him. It was a hero's appreciation of another. Young Master Xia, please do not hurt him. A charming voice was followed by the appearance of a figure in red. It was none other than Peony Overseer. Xiao Dandan ran back and pulled the baffled Zhuo Fan behind the Peony Overseer. Everyone, Song Yu is as stubborn as a mule and offended you before. Please, for my sake, don't take it out on him. Peony Overseer cupped her hands. They suddenly froze, then laughed. Peony Overseer thought they wanted to get revenge on Zhuo Fan and rushed over to save him. This made them exchange a glance. It was though they sent out a message through their gaze, and all agreed to play along. Zhuo Fan was always so cocky that Long Zhuo, a senior, looked for any chance to poke fun at him. Long Zhuo coughed before he snorted in anger. How did Drifting Flowers Edifice get such a rude disciple? I would have long slapped him silly if Peony Overseer hadn't shown up. Uncle Zhuo, please don't take it out on him. Peony Overseer nodded again and again. Long Zhuo was stroking his beard, but his eyebrow danced in amusement at Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan's heart jumped and knew something was up. And sure enough, Long Zhuo bypassed Peony Overseer and patted his shoulder like a teaching elder. Punk, you got away this time. But you better watch it in the future. Then Long Zhuo slipped away, walking faster than normal, afraid Zhuo Fan would settle the score. Zhuo Fan blinked, still out of it. Xia Tianyang, having learned by Long Zhuo's example, slapped his shoulder with a proud smile as he blurted, Punk, better watch it next time. I won't go so easy again. I am cooler than you. Stronger than you. To think you even dared call me brother hoping you can climb ranks. Ha ha ha. Xia Tianyang was carefree in his speech. If it were any given day, he'd never had the balls to speak to Zhuo Fan in such a way. Whose fault was it that Zhuo Fan took on Song Yu's face? Zhuo Fan clenched his fists and fire ebbed in his eyes. Curses. Since when did I have such goddamned brothers? You were the one acting all familiar with me before, and now you're messing with me? As Zhuo Fan glared at the two's retreating figures, a charming voice spoke, Hey, what are you looking at? Can't take it. Zhuo Fan turned towards Long Kuei. She struggled to hold her smile back as she berated, You're just a junior just like this lady. You better get your act together when you see Uncle Zhuo again. Don't be cheeky and learn some manners. Long Kuei stuck out her chin, passing him by with an attitude to match. Worse, when she just passed him, Zhuo Fan noticed a wry smile on her face. Zhuo Fan was trembling now, close to spitting blood. Curses. Even this wench is joining in. You're lucky Drifting Flowers Edifice's people are around, or I'll be pulling your pants down and tanning your ass. I am a sworn brother with Long Zhuo. I am a senior here. You're the cheeky one. Zhuo Fan felt bleak. Long Jia passed by him and he glared back as if to say, What, you're also going to kick me around? Long Jia just shrugged and walked. Jian Suifeng stroked his beard with a smile, walking after Xia Tianyang. If he didn't see it himself, he wouldn't have believed the freak Zhuo fan that killed Yugiki would have a day like this, all sullen and downcast. Once all were gone, Xiao Dandan sighed and smiled. That was dangerous. Lucky I called my master in time to save you. Who told you to? Zhuo fan glared impatiently and howled. How could they dare think to mess with me if not for you two showing up? Xiao Dandan lowered her head, feeling deeply wronged. Peony Overseer flared, Songyu, don't think you can always rely on Edifice Lord and pick on my disciple. Humph, you think I care for your fate? I only came to save you because Dandan asked me to. Humph, men are all the same, ungrateful. Dandan, let's go. He isn't worthy of you. Peony Overseer pulled Xiao Dandan away. Xiao Dandan looked back at him, but Zhuo fan rolled his eyes. Zhuo fan thought for a moment then walked to the guest hall. It is time to lay the cards out for Chu Qingcheng. Exchanging Bodhi Jade sap for the safety of Drifting Flowers edifice is a good enough deal for them. Chapter 120, Strange Formula. Chapter 120, Strange Formula. The guest hall was quiet now that all the bustle was over. Only a bleak and desolate figure lay collapsed on the ground. Knowing to be Chu Qingcheng, Zhuo fan walked to her, his words blunt, Edifice Lord, I need to speak with you. It's regarding Drifting Flowers edifice's future. I am sure you'd be interested. Zhuo fan seemed like a different person, unlike the silly and naive Songyu. He had a crafty smile and a deep gaze. Yet his words fell on deaf ears. Zhuo fan looked down to find Chu Qingcheng's eyes dead. She didn't hear a word he said. Come on. You're a profound heaven expert and an edifice lord on top of that. Yet, you can't take a hit. A man's betrayal was enough to bring you to this state. Zhuo fan shook his head. No wonder men have been rulers since antiquity. A woman's heart is too fragile. Though, big sis, even if you want to give up, do that after you listen to my plan. At least give me the Bodhi Jade sap while you're at it. Zhuo fan sighed. If this had happened yesterday, he would have laughed, thinking it would be easy to take the Bodhi Jade sap and just leave. But now, things have changed. If anything happened to Chu Qingcheng, the Drifting Flowers edifice would collapse. Wouldn't that be to Regent Estate's satisfaction? For now, he couldn't steal the Bodhi Jade sap and could only politely ask for it. Edifice Lord Chu, wake up. Listen to my plan to rescue Drifting Flowers edifice. I promise you will like it. Zhuo fan waved his hand in front of her. Chu Qingcheng was still unresponsive, her eyes blank. Though, the tears proved she was very much alive. Sighing, Zhuo fan found himself out of options. After a person locked their heart to escape the cruel reality, the only one capable of saving them was themselves. Sister Chu Chu, why are you like this? Zhuo fan sighed, not knowing what to do. Suddenly, Chu Qingcheng moved and the light came back in her eyes. What did you call me? Zhuo fan was startled then happy. It seems his unintentional call brought this foolish lady back. He rushed to say, Sister Chu Chu, wake up. Zhuo fan shook to her as he used bewitching whispers. His voice was amplified hundreds of times in her ear. Chu Qingcheng shivered and woke up, looking back at Zhuo fan. Her eyes softened, so it's you, thank you. It's nothing, as long as you're awake now. Nodding, Zhuo fan laughed inside, by the way, I have something. No need to say it. Nothing matters at this point. Chu Qingcheng stood up as she had made her newfound resolve. Her eyes flashed, Drifting Flowers edifice has entered such a crisis and it's my responsibility to do everything to save it. This isn't your fault. And Drifting Flowers edifice still has. Songyu. Chu Qingcheng didn't seem to have heard him as she smiled warmly, I really need to thank you. I don't know how you got Veiled Dragon Pavilion and Sword Marquis Abode to help us, to give us one last chance. Without this chance, I know that we would have been stripped of all dignity. Actually. Alright, you don't need to explain. I understand. She used a delicate hand to help Zhuo Fan up and smiled. I know you want to comfort me, but there's no need. I realize it now. There is still time until the 100-pill meeting starts and hope you can help me with some things. She pulled Zhuo Fan outside. The pitiful Zhuo Fan tried many times to get a word in, but was always shut down before he could finish. His only choice was to let Chu Qingqing pull him. Big sis, can't you let me speak? I have a way to save Drifting Flowers edifice. Zhuo Fan sighed. How does this woman speak so fast? I can't get a word in. The moment I open my mouth, she lets out 10 words. It is just for some Bodhi jade sap. Is it really necessary to cut me off every time? Zhuo Fan shook his head and stopped talking. Regardless of how he worded it, Chu Qingqing had a way to shut him up each time, as if talking to a child. Zhuo Fan was silent the whole trip, pulled along to a desolate cliff at the back of the edifice. And the cliff's wall had faint energy waves leaking from it, a barrier. Drifting Flowers edifice disciple Chu Qingqing, requesting an audience with Aunt Tao. Chu Qingqing bowed and shouted. An invisible ripple echoed and the barrier opened. An aged voice traveled from within. Chu Chu, you are the Lord now. As he expected, she was poisoned by Rainbow Cloud Palm. And just like Chu Qingqing, she had the Bodhi jade sap restraining the 7 poisons. With the help of this ancient ice, her life was preserved. Only that Chu Qingqing's poison state was less grave, while this living dead was filled with it. Even with an antidote, her recovery was slim. If the ancient ice hadn't kept her in suspended animation, her life would have been over. Zhuo Fan turned to the formula on the wall and felt something was off about it. It's real, but there's a trick to it. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed with a strange light. Following her finger, he discovered she was referring to the living dead. He was still out of the loop, but the dead ought to be shown respect, he guessed. So kowtowing wasn't that big of a deal. And so, Zhuo Fan was quite casual in his kneeling and knocking his head on the ground. As he did, he realized Chu Qingqing was kneeling next to him, kowtowing just as well. Good. The rite is complete. Zhuo Fan was still confused when Aunt Tao shouted, and asked for him to kneel again. This time, he was against it. In light of what happened, Chu Qingqing's most trusted allies were the Iris and Peony overseers. With time, people started to think grandmother was dead, when in fact Aunt Tao froze her on her last breath and had turned her into a living dead. This ended the sorrowful history of Drifting Flowers edifice. Chu Qingqing dabbed her eyes and recalled those times as she looked at grandmother. Aunt Tao was looking stern at Zhuo Fan. Kid, did you get all of it? Zhuo Fan nodded, yes. Good. Now, you will be the next one to pass it on. The Drifting Flowers edifice will never die as long as someone remembers it. She laughed and helped Zhuo up before he joined his and Chu Qingqing's delicate hands together. Just for a few days, take care. Aunt Tao walked towards the cave wall and entered contemplation. Zhuo Fan was about to ask for clarification when Chu Qingqing pulled him before the grandmother. She bowed again and left without turning around. With a rumble, the stone door closed and the array started again. Sister Chu Chu, what is going on? Zhuo Fan asked puzzled. He didn't understand why Chu Qingqing prevented him from speaking and brought him to listen to their history. Chu Qingqing shook her head and showed a rare but warm smile. From now on, call me just Chu Chu, or Qingqing. Ah. Zhuo Fan blinked. He was clueless to what Chu Chu meant, but her gaze evoked something foreign in his heart. Silly. Chu Qingqing pulled his hand as she continued, you are now one of us. Come, I will take you to see the members of my family. He had to use human skin to take the formula with him. It was obvious how dangerous, how hard this mission was. This also gave Zhuo Fan some plans he could use for the Luo clan. Should I also get some diehards and send them inside the other houses as a contingency? But his plan would have to have far more impact than Drifting Flowers edifices. While Drifting Flowers edifice wasted a decade for a formula, he had greater plots developing in his mind. Like getting his spies in the houses through some special means and reporting their every movement. The Nine Serenities secret records had a secret art pertaining to demonic cultivators to aid in this endeavor, but it was too cruel. The secret art wasn't used on enemies but on his own men. He could only harden his heart if he were to handle the 7 houses. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed with coldness. Chu Qingchen continued, oblivious of his reactions. Qingtian's return had everyone excited. With Rainbow Cloud Palm's antidote, we had no reason to fear Pill King Hall. While everyone was eager, Aunt Tao and Qing Tian began refining it. However, the formula was too much of an oddity. The overseers who were already poisoned died when taking the refined antidote, while the refiners got poisoned themselves. And your brother died from poison? Heaven can be so cruel to geniuses. Zhuo Fan sighed. That was the truth of it, and he felt close to tears. The antidote was a 7th-grade pill. He was a freak of an alchemy genius to participate in its refining at such a young age. It is truly a pity his life ended so soon. Chu Qingchen shook her head, eyes downcast. No, he was killed by the other overseers. What, but didn't he earn great merit? Why? Zhuo Fan was startled but soon figured it out. Who was the most unfortunate in this world, the nameless hero? Why? Ha ha ha, because neither side got what they wanted. Chu Qingchen confirmed it. My other sisters suspected him as being Pill King Hall's spy, that he brought a fake formula to ruin the house. They took advantage of me, Peony Overseer and Iris Overseer's absence, and beat him to death. This is Drifting Flowers Edifice's shame. We had no choice but to say he died from poisoning. While Aunt Tao still believed the formula is real, studying it painstakingly. Tears fell from Chu Qingchen's eyes. Zhuo Fan wanted to comfort her, but she waved her hand to refuse, stopping him in his tracks. Because Qingtian's body was in such condition, I could only bury him here. I was afraid he would be cursed and reviled, so I didn't leave his name behind. Later, I moved my parents' graves to have them reunited here. Chu Qingchen pulled Zhuo Fan's hand into kowtowing 3 times before the graves. Song Yu, when I die, please bring my body here to rest with them. Chu Qingchen's words were filled with sorrow and sounded very much like a dying wish, leaving Zhuo Fan puzzled. What is she planning? Silly girl, with me here, there's nothing to worry about. Zhuo Fan showed a rare serious expression. Chu Qingchen was startled. She rarely saw the stubborn Zhuo Fan display any semblance of reliability like right now. She soon rolled her eyes. You are never satisfied, are you? I told you to call me by my name and now you dare call me silly. Ha ha ha. Bro Dong said this will bring women a feeling of safety. What, you don't like it? Zhuo Fan scratched his head, playing the fool. She glared at him. That brother of yours is a wastrel. Stay away from him. Zhuo Fan shrugged. Now, follow me to the last place. After seeing grandmother and paying respects to her family, Chu Qingchen took the cloak and pulled Zhuo Fan as she soared. 15 minutes later, they were at a familiar place. Zhuo Fan was amazed to find this place was the slums where they first met. Because of the Scourge woman, none dared to get close. Why are we here again? Zhuo Fan was baffled, right? Why is the great edifice lord hiding here as a Scourge woman? Chu Qingchen took a deep breath. I had no choice. Enraged by what happened to Qing Tian, I went to Yen Song to settle the score, only to be wounded and poisoned as well. I didn't let anyone know this, afraid of affecting Drifting Flowers edifice's stability. I claimed to enter seclusion when in fact, I have been using the moon's power to suppress the poison. I told you, you are not my brother. Just let me feel the warmth of a family one last time. Chu Qingqing stared into his eyes. She hesitated before removing her veil. Her outstanding beauty was once again revealed to him, making his heart freeze. He was plunged into a daze a second time, despite seeing her once already. Chu Qingqing noticed and a hit of red colored her cheeks. Songyu, Qingtian told me my smile can topple cities. His pill can topple heaven. I hope you will let me relive our short warm memories together. Smiley face Qingqing equals city toppling. Star reader, Qingtian equals heaven toppling. Zhuo Fan could not even process her words. He was too confused and lost, only nodding unconsciously. Chu Qingqing showed a smile of gratitude. Thank you. The two began experiencing the lives of a man and a woman in a quiet and decrepit house. They were like average people, with Zhuo Fan repairing the house and Chu Qingqing washing and cooking before eating together. The following 3 days, Zhuo Fan never felt so at peace. He would have never thought it possible before. How could the Grand Demonic Emperor live his days in such a vile way? Yet, these days were spent without any bit of worry or remorse, as if he was living a dream. Unfortunately, this was an act that fell in a pair of vicious eyes hiding in the darkness. He was a profound heaven expert. The figure left and soon arrived at Drifting Flowers Edifice's guest rooms. He quietly entered one that was filled with people. Vicious Pill King, Mary Woods' Lin Zitian, Hell Valley's fifth elder, were all here. And leading them was none other than Regent Estate's second young master, Huangpu Qingyun. The figure whispered in the second young master's ear. Bam! The teacup in his hand was shattered into pieces. Huangpu Qingyun was enraged. Second young master, what happened? Vicious Pill King asked. Clenching his fists, Huangpu Qingyun spat, that bitch took off her veil for that punk. Huangpu Qingyun ran out, flying straight to the slums. Chapter 123, Golden Tyrant Body Art. Chapter 123, Golden Tyrant Body Art. A morning ray of warmth spilled into the house onto Zhuo Fan's peaceful face. His eyelids trembled and he smiled, looking at the person in his arms. He and Chu Qingqing lived their days in peace like a game of house. They toiled by day and rested in the same bed by night. Although nothing happened, they leaned on each other, giving a sense of peace to both. Zhuo Fan, who was a ruthless demon, never stumbled upon such feelings before. Perhaps, this is the warmth of a family. Zhuo Fan watched the beauty in his arms absent-mindedly. Chu Qingqing's appearance could incite wars. As the saying went, a woman was a hero's downfall. He has experienced this firsthand. Living a peaceful life with Chu Qingqing was all that was on his mind right now. What's the point of rising to the top? What's the point of ruling the world? How can it compare to a beauty's smile? Perhaps this is what they call to fall from grace. But so what? I am willing to fall, ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan laughed inside, the ever-unchanging demonic emperor was wavering. He gazed at Chu Qingqing resting on his chest. Zhuo Fan couldn't help but want to lean in for a kiss. Whoosh! Suddenly, Chu Qingqing opened her eyes and threw them out of the house. Bam! The house went up in flames, turning into ashes in an instant. From the rising ashes, a figure emerged, the outraged Huangpu Qingyun. The fire in his eyes burned even hotter when he saw Chu Qingqing and Zhuo Fan holding hands. Man, I just fixed the house. Huangpu Qingyun was angry, Zhuo Fan was pissed. This was his and Chu Qingqing's quiet home. And it barely lasted a couple of days before it went up in smoke. Son of a bitch. You've gone too far. You take me for a meek lamb. These days of peace and quiet seemed to have gone to his head. It made him forget he was acting as Songyu. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed with killing intent. He took a step forward, ready to get Huangpu Qingyun acquainted with pain. But Chu Qingqing blocked him and whispered, Songyu, stay behind me. Finally realizing what he was about to do, Zhuo Fan relaxed his fists. He couldn't step in now, or Regent Estate would have an excuse to move against Drifting Flower's edifice and ruin all his plans. These days have been so relaxing that I forgot about the bigger picture. Zhuo Fan cursed inside, then sighed, Qingcheng, I will leave it to you. Qingcheng. It only worked to inflame Huangpu Qingyun's anger. You're on a first-name basis now, like a cheating couple. I will make sure you will die miserably today. Huangpu Qingyun, watch your mouth. Who's a cheating couple? Chu Qingcheng glared. Humph, you're asking me. Chu Qingcheng, even when we settled on the agreement, you did not once remove your veil for me. Yet now you just let a damn punk see you first. Chu Qingcheng's eyes were cold. Huangpu Qingyun, you're the one who broke our agreement first. Why would I ever show you my face? Hold on, you lost me there. Zhuo Fan stepped in. You are so petty. She only lifted her veil and you want to kill me? Even with Qingcheng as your childhood sweetheart, you only don't wish for anyone to have a look at her appearing? Your reaction is uncalled for. It is not like I steal your wife or something. As the saying went, silence was golden. Huangpu Qingyun was now an explosive, ready to blow. Rotten punk, you dare feign ignorance? You're dead, you hear? Huangpu Qingyun punched despite being 300 meters away. Nonetheless, a golden light flew from his fist and arrived in a blink. Zhuo Fan's heart froze. The body refining art he used could not be compared to Zhuo Fan's secret refining art, but was top-notch nonetheless. In normal cases, a profound heaven expert killing a bone-tempering cultivator was an easy feat. It seems that have no choice but to reveal myself and fight this guy to the death. Chapter 125, Yours truly does not and will not owe favors. Chapter 125, Yours truly does not and will not owe favors. Sit down and relax. Many delicacies had already been laid on a worn and old table, courtesy of Chu Qingcheng's cooking. She was still hiding her face behind the veil, but her every gesture and elegant demeanor made her seem like the perfect wife. Her tone was neither haughty nor overbearing. She acted just like any ordinary young wife receiving faraway guests. The trio stiffly took seats. They had Chu Qingcheng's invitation, but this does not mean that their heart was at ease. On the contrary, Zhuo Fan was feeling right at home after having spent time with Chu Qingcheng the past few days. His movements were casual and frank. He spoke normally, like a simple family. Dong Tianba began to envy him. Lil Bro must have had quite the heavenly fortune for Chu Qingcheng to look at him. Xiao Dandan and Dong Xiaowan were staring at him all this time, but Chu Qingcheng's presence left them sour inside. They felt inadequate in front of such a world-class beauty that they lowered their heads. They passed the day in a peaceful and cheerful manner. Once dusk was setting in, Chu Qingcheng sighed, it's getting late and we should part ways. What parting do you speak of when tomorrow's the 100-pill meeting? Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow. Shaking her head in sorrow, Chu Qingcheng pulled his hand and said to the rest, come with me. She walked ahead, with others rushing to catch up. They soon turned to a lonely road where a worn-out carriage stood. That carriage belonged to none other than the Song clan Zhuo Fan reappropriated. There were also 6 people standing close to it. Dong Tianba's 4 elders and the Peony and Iris overseers standing at the front of the group. This caught them by surprise, not understanding what was going on. Go. Chu Qingcheng pointed at the carriage, leave by night and make haste in hiding your clans. You may still have a chance to survive. What's going on? Edifice Lord Chu Chu, why are you driving us away? Did we offend you? Dong Tianba cried, so scared his legs were quaking. Chu Qingcheng shook her head, forgive me. It is not your fault, but mine. I didn't want to drag you into this, but Huangpu Qingyun is petty. I fear he will strike you out of spite. Huangpu. The Regent Estate. Dong Tianba was alarmed, on the verge of tears. Why would Regent Estate be involved with us? We did nothing to them. Your Dong clan has not been destroyed, so why are you crying? Zhuo Fan snorted and turned to Chu Qingcheng. What are you planning? Don't do anything stupid, there's still room to turn this around. Chu Qingcheng shook her head and caressed his cheek. I know what I'm doing. Just that I need your help with something. Zhuo Fan eyed her suspiciously. She pulled Xiao Dandan, who was still in shock, and rested her hand in Zhuo Fan's. Please watch over Dandan. She may very well be the last member of our Drifting Flowers Edifice house. Edifice Lord. Xiao Dandan was panicking and Zhuo Fan paled. But before he could speak, Chu Qingcheng stopped them. This is my last wish. You have to do this for me. Chu Qingcheng took her storage ring and gave it to Xiao Dandan. Dandan, take this with you on your journey with Song Yu to his clan. But you can only look inside once you arrive. Take care of your husband and don't be so willful, alright? Xiao Dandan nodded in tears. Peony Overseer found it unbearable as she shouted, It's late, leave quickly. If they find you, you won't get another chance. Dong Tianba didn't understand, but was clear to the danger, rushing inside the carriage with his sister. Zhuo Fan knew Chu Qingcheng wanted to give Drifting Flowers Edifice a chance at revival. He had a plan in mind but wasn't sure it was foolproof. So he followed Chu Qingcheng's wishes and pulled Xiao Dandan into the carriage. Chu, was it worth entrusting everything to that man? Iris Overseer frowned. Shaking her head, Chu Qingcheng said, Aren't all our hopes resting on them leaving safely? What more is there to say? Yet, she couldn't fight back the tears, feeling disappointed by Zhuo Fan's last act. We will never see each other again. Can't you at least show some reluctance for the sake of all the precious little time we spent together? But they were unaware what Zhuo Fan was thinking. Their thoughts were completely worlds apart from each other. They took this as a final parting while Zhuo Fan took it as making a delivery. He'd be dropping off Xiao Dandan to a safe place before running straight back. I'm only a delivery boy, and soon will come back running. What final? What parting? Let us return, tomorrow we have a bitter fight on our hands. Chu Qingcheng took a deep breath to rein in her emotions, then flew back. The overseers were right behind her. Night came, and soon darkness gave way to the sun's rays. Chu Qingcheng stood alone in her room, watching the grandiose building outside. It was the place where the 100-pill meeting was held, and their final battle. Chu. Iris Overseer flashed next to her and nodded, everything's ready. All that's left is for that old dog to come. Good. Chu Qingcheng's eyes flashed with resolve. Drifting Flowers Edifice may fall, but that old dog will go down with it. Blood for blood. Let's go. Meanwhile, Zhuo Fan rode the carriage all night and was now 100 miles out of Drifting Flowers City. He thought it was enough, loosened the reins, and jumped down. Alright, you guys leave. I'm going back. Darling, wait. Xiao Dandan cried out from inside, you can't go back. Won't you make Sister Qingqing's sacrifice in vain? Who's your darling? Don't shout without thinking. Isn't Chu Qingqing your edifice lord? What a cheeky disciple, calling her sister. Reddening, Xiao Dandan replied coyly, Isn't it because you are my husband? Edifice lord has given my hand to you personally. So, you are my husband in every sense of the word. An edifice lord is your wife as well. What else can I do but call her sister? What? When did Chu Qingqing become my wife? Zhuo Fan was floored. Scratching his head, Dong Tianba stuck out of the carriage and sighed, Bro, how are you so slow in the head? Both of you were so close in that broken house that even a blind man could see you two are married. How could you not? What she said should have been an obvious enough hint. Yesterday, you visited her family, today she visited your friends. What else could it be if not to show everyone that you two were married? That can't be. I always thought she saw me as her younger brother to relive her old warm memories. How? Zhuo Fan was dumbfounded. He, a demon through and through, with his nose always deep plotting against others, was clueless in matters between a man and a woman. Even if he were to engage in such acts, it would only be a stepping stone for a greater purpose, faking through it all. He had never ever truly experienced romantic love. Xiao Dandan watched Zhuo Fan cautiously as she muttered, "Then darling, let me ask you. Did you see her face?" "Don't call me that." Zhuo Fan shook away her approaching hand in loathing, then thought about it. "I have, twice." "Then it is indeed so. Edifice Lord has never married before. If a man were to see her face, she would either kill him off or resign her duty as Edifice Lord and marry him." Xiao Dandan raised an eyebrow. "Since husband is safe and sound, it speaks of Sister Chuchu's decision of recognizing you as a husband." Zhuo Fan suddenly recalled the moment he made a sneak attack on Chu for her Bodhi Jade sap, only to take her face cover. She was deeply conflicted then. She was hesitating whether to kill me or to marry me. That was way too dangerous. But what he didn't take into consideration was where exactly did the wonderful part fit a demon like him. "Darling, if you still don't believe me, the ring Sister Chu gave has to be holding that item." His constant hesitation led Xiao Dandan to defy the task entrusted to her by Chu Qingcheng. She took out the item in the ring, all to justify her position as his wife. After the light dimmed, three things appeared in front of everyone's eyes. One was the black cloak Zhuo Fan already saw, and the second a small bottle. He also knew this contained the Bodhi Jade sap. He immediately snatched it, overcome with joy. "I've run all over the place for this, only to fall so easily in my lap." "Ha ha ha." Xiao Dandan said, "The Bodhi Jade sap is Sister Qingcheng's dowry. If you take it, then you are accepting Sister Qingcheng and me." Xiao Dandan blushed at the last part. Zhuo Fan was in a daze. After he heard what she said, all smiles were wiped from his face. He was a demonic emperor that had no scruples, but never ever owed favors. It would have been better if he had stolen it. Yet, the fact remained that it was given to him by someone, along with a free gift attached. If he took it, then he had to accept the gift. But accepting Xiao Dandan? "Ha ha ha, sorry, but the first impression I have of you already ruined it for me. I won't be taking you." Now he turned to the third item, a wooden piece of wood with the words, "Beloved wife Chu Qingcheng's memorial tablet" written on it. Zhuo Fan's eyes squinted and cried, "What is this?" Xiao Dandan sighed, "I shouldn't be telling you this, but I once heard Master mention that they were ready to fall with the vicious Pill King. Damnation! You think they'll succeed to drag that old geezer down when they couldn't even keep this plan hidden from a mere disciple? Humph, a bunch of foolish women going to their doom." Zhuo Fan rained curses. Then he looked at the Bodhi Jade sap and snickered, he, yours truly does not and will not owe favors." He took the items into his ring and ran towards Drifting Flowers City, disappearing from sight. Dong Tianba and the rest were restless. He was a loafer, but not a fool. If the overseers and the Lord were in a bitter fight, didn't that mean Drifting Flowers edifice was the worst place to be right now? Would Zhuo Fan get out alive if he returned? Damn it, darling won't be able to come back if he goes. We need to go after him. Xiao Dandan cried. Dong Xiaowan was also anxiously watching her brother, pleading. Dong Tianba gnashed his teeth and ordered, "Let's go, I cannot allow my brother to face dangers alone again." They had no way to even fight back. "Overseer Chunyu, you are the oldest among us. How is it that even you, Peony Overseer?" glared at one of the 5 people. The person was calm, however. "Drifting Flowers edifice's power waned and I could only look elsewhere for safety. I urge you to find your own and not do something you should not." At her odd words, Chu Qingcheng looked doubtful at Peony Overseer. Peony Overseer bit her lip, filled with regret and anguish. Forgive me, Qingcheng. Chapter 127, Gathering of Experts. Chapter 127, Gathering of Experts. After the courtesy had been being slowly dispensed at the 100-pill meeting, the clan's delegates stepped in the widespread arena. Meanwhile, the guests had slowly gathered and the audience seated. Regent Estate, Hell Valley, Pill King Hall, and Merry Woods were guided to the eastern stand. Huangpu Qingyun watched the prize on the pedestal, already sporting a winner's attitude, and smiled. On the other hand, the Veiled Dragon Pavilion, Sword Marquis Abode, and the ones who stood in favor of Drifting Flowers Edifice, were guided to the western stand. Long Zhuo was with Xia Tianyang and the rest, watching the endless stream of people with a critical eye. However, there was no sign of Zhuo Fan. If this kid doesn't show, who will deal with the vicious Pill King? Seconds ticked by, then minutes, as the arena was gradually filled with contestants. Oh, if it isn't Master Huang. You're also competing? Yeah. Everyone aims for higher standing. Drifting Flowers Edifice's 100-pill meeting happens once every few decades. How could I not come? Ha ha ha, I'm the same. I hope to rise in fame as well. Even if I cannot enter Drifting Flowers Edifice, I can at least make an impression on some of the first-rate clans. Isn't that Master Zhang? It's an honor to meet you. Oh, Master Chen, such an honor. The competition had yet to begin and the contestants were greeting each other. Suddenly, an elderly with a powerful aura stepped in, with a split mustache on the corners of his mouth. He glowed with confidence. Before his presence, everyone halted what they were doing. Aren't you the head alchemist of the Shiman clan of Thriving City, Luizhen? Shiman clan is a first-rate clan, and you're even their head alchemist. Why on earth did you come here? Yeah. Everyone has heard of your skill already. You earned second place at the Great Alchemy Tournament in the Imperial Capital. You were but seconds behind completing your refining. Only to end up forfeiting the first place to the Pill King Hall's genius disciple, Yan Fu. You are already well known, so why come to this competition among nameless juniors? Indeed, you are a famous grandmaster, a glorious fifth-grade alchemist. So why come to this competition? You should give us all a chance too. Everyone was complaining when Luizhen showed up. Yet, the elder had a faint smile, and a poised face, as if he relished every bit of rancor aimed at him. Ha ha ha, I may have a bit of a name in alchemy but I still have so much to learn. I have come today not to seek fame, but to open my eyes and learn from everyone. As if. Who are you kidding? You clearly came to enter Drifting Flowers Edifice. Everyone here knows Shiman is great, but they are still not one of the 7 noble houses. He was looked down on and despised by everyone. The result of the contestants' deep-seated fear. Luizhen was greatly known throughout the empire for his alchemy. They would have no chance now that he was here. More and more reproachful gazes settled on him, but he responded with a haughty attitude, as though he was the king of the world. Settle down, everyone. A sweet voice, soothing to the ear came. It was followed by a young lady in a violet dress, who floated down from the sky. Silence ensued so deeply that the clamor of before seemed more like an illusion. The lady nodded, pleased, greetings and welcome competitors, to our Drifting Flowers Edifice's 100-pill meeting. I am the judge of today's competition, Xiaoya. Clap. Xiaoya clapped lightly and a string of demure girls appeared in a line, with each settling at every cauldron. This time, every participant will be accompanied by one of our disciples to prevent cheating. Drifting Flowers Edifice is truly great, settling every detail. Luizhen was the first to gush praises and give his thumbs up. Indeed, with a beauty around, refining will be a breeze. This young master appreciates it, ha ha ha. They all sighed in admiration. Only one of the 7 houses could employ such a method, to have thousands of alchemists paired with one disciple each. Xiaoye extended her hands at the 20 most prominent cauldrons. Everyone has different masteries, and alchemists are no different. These 20 cauldrons are for the most outstanding alchemists. If you are confident, please stand in one of them.